Sup, everybody? Welcome in the Sooners on SI Pod, recapping a tough one in Norman. Oklahoma falls 25-15 to the number 6 ranked Tennessee Volunteers. The Josh Heupel return game, and a game that was not actually that close. I'm Ryan Chapman, managing editor here at Sooners on SI, joined by John Hoover. John, hi, hello, how are you?
You're right, it was not that close, but it was more of a blowout than it looked.
It was the score did not indicate just how awful Oklahoma played.
Final score 25-15. It was a 10-point spread. Tennessee covered somehow. And it felt like a blowout. It felt like an absolute annihilation. Statistically, which we'll get into, it was.
Yeah, we're joined by John Hoover as well as Randall Sweet. Randall, you were down on the field. Did it feel as demoralizing as it was up in the press box?
Absolutely. The difference in physicality and toughness, especially on the offensive side of the ball, was definitely noticeable down on the field.
Yeah, it was the big day everyone asked for, right? SEC, and we'll dive it all. I'm starting to hear just real quick. The fans have been told they're not SEC ready for years. The atmosphere going from Friday on campus, game day was electric. You get into the game. I saw after the game, I think Colin Kennedy put it out there that Holly Rowe on the broadcast, they carry like a decibel meter with them. The loudest they've hit in the last couple of years post-COVID was 115 at Death Valley. Norman hit 117 today. It was the loudest stadium they've had. And there was a lot to cheer for when the defense was on the field. But as we've done for 3 straight weeks, week 4 is so different. We're not starting with the defense. We're starting with the offense. Oklahoma could not move the football. The offensive line is officially awful. A terrible unit, 1.1 yards per carry. They allowed 3 sacks, 11 tackles for loss, 4 quarterback hurries. You saw Jackson Arnold never settle into the game. He threw a terrible interception. He had a terrible fumble. And then he threw a lateral, which led to him getting yanked on the last drive of the first half. John, I know there was panic and shock and intrigue after the Houston game and the bounce back performance. We had a whole week of #the discourse. Brent Venables, Seth Lachelle had to pull the plug because the offensive line was bad, but Jackson Arnold's turnovers were inexcusable, even for a guy starting his 5th game.
Yeah, for sure. 9 turnovers now in his 5th career start. It's
9 turnovers in 5 starts.
in 5 starts.
Yes.
Yes, that's way too many. Has led to 37 points by the other team. Sorry, you can't do that and be the starting quarterback at Oklahoma. His passer rating right now is 120.9, which would rank 93rd in the country, according to last week's statistics, which will be updated. There's nothing good that Jackson Arnold has done. He had a 47-yard run last week. He had a nice touchdown run. It looked like he was starting to get his sea legs under him, starting to get his game, together. And then came out today, looked scared, looked tentative, looked hesitating. There was an early first drive, I think, where he pulled the quarterback keep. And he just kind of tiptoed into the line, hoping that someone wasn't going to break his ribs or something. I don't know what it was. It was just he just kind of leaned into the line, and they slammed him down pretty hard. He wasn't running with authority. He wasn't throwing the football with any kind of certainty. Midway through the second quarter, after the fumble on the goal line, which was inexplicable because he had a pitch, and then he decided to keep it, and then he lost the fumble. After that, I said it's time for Jackson Arnold to sit and watch this game. If Lincoln Riley can do that to Spencer Rattler twice against Texas, then Brent Venables needs to do it to Jackson Arnold against Tennessee. 2 series later, he did exactly that.
Yeah, it only took a safety, which was not Jackson Arnold's fault. Again, the offensive line is a joke. It's one of the worst units Oklahoma's had.
Hard to figure out.
It's not hard to figure out. They're bad. They're not physical. It's everything that's wrong with offensive line play. They're not blowing anyone off the football. So it's not like, man, this left side of the line is really blowing people by and the center's missing assignment. No one's blowing anyone off of any football. I said it's coming to the site at 6 a.m. Oklahoma's offensive line's taking steps backward, literally and figuratively, because every time you watch them, they're moving backwards. I don't understand how Bill Beanbo, who's an excellent offensive line coach, has a unit that cannot go forward. And this isn't just because Tennessee's a good defensive line. They are a good defensive line. They got housed against Temple, against Houston, against Tulane. It's a joke. It's not even an SEC. It's a line that's shown in the Big 12. It belongs to the American Athletic Conference. It's a terrible offensive line. There's that. And then you've got a quarterback making awful decisions. Randall, to this point, I've thought through 3 games, Jackson Arnold's not been perfect, but to me, I haven't seen him making the same mistakes over and over again. He was pretty clean against Temple, had some drops. Against Houston, he didn't read the RPO game very well, things like that. Then you had the bad pick six against Tulane. This, Randall, for me, was those mistakes he made against Arizona as far as throwing late and across. That's what the interception was. And then he misread a couple of RPOs. The second fumble, which was a lateral, Brent was talking about it. First off, the read the whole way was hand the football off. Secondly, they don't have an RPO where a lateral is an option. To me, it was a total regression in every way for Jackson Arnold.
Yeah, totally. And when you see a guy like Jackson Arnold perform like that, especially having seen it against Arizona before, a guy that you know has the physical talent, the arm strength, the capabilities to play at a high level, that just seems like a confidence issue. And part of that's probably because the offensive line isn't helping him. The receiving core is so injured. Nick Anderson comes in, plays like maybe a series, and exits the game again. But again, Jackson Arnold, as the starting quarterback at Oklahoma, like we've mentioned, has to work on not getting rattled, not getting his confidence stripped especially in a big moment like Tennessee. And that can start when Brent Venables kind of mentioned it. The interception he threw, it looked like, all right, he's dropping back in the pocket. When pressure starts to bear down on him, he panics, he lets go of the ball into double coverage, receiver that wasn't open. I think that the confidence and just the obviously the experience level, that's something that you can only get by playing. But the confidence is something that Jackson Arnold's going to have to improve if he wants to take back over as the starter, because with the defenses that Oklahoma is going to play and the offensive line group in front of him, there's going to be ups and downs. So if he wants to take back over as a starter, he's going to have to obviously make better decisions, but become more confident whenever things go wrong.
Yeah, we've asked a couple of times, is this the 2005 Oklahoma team? Is it the 2009 Oklahoma team? That looked like a Landry Jones in Lincoln who got happy feet, and unfortunately for Bob Stoops and co, they didn't have a different plug to pull, because Tennessee, at all points tonight, they were in the backfield. Whether it was because they were unblocked due to the fact that the offensive linemen are so feeble and weak that they can't hold anybody off, or because they're not communicating well enough and they can't get on the same page 4 weeks into the season. I felt bad for Arnold, the running game. I don't put any of this on the running backs. The line stinks. But we saw the difference of Arnold panicking. He's not unathletic. Michael Hawkins is faster, but Arnold has shown the ability to be elusive. We didn't really see that in Jackson Arnold's portion of the game. Flip forward to Michael Hawkins. Now, his first two drives, they did nothing on that last drive at the end of the first half. They did nothing on the first drive of the second half. Again, offensive line stinks. There's not anything that either quarterback's going to do, but you saw Hawkins, who, to a certain degree, stay calm, understand that he's going to have to make guys miss, and I don't know how much of his 11 for 18, 131 through the air is real as far as Hawkins making plays versus Tennessee kind of going to a prevent, because Josh Heupel mercy killed Oklahoma tonight. He took his foot off the gas. I think Josh Heupel said, that offense is hot garbage. I'm going to do absolutely nothing to give them any semblance of momentum. I don't know how much of that's real. What I do know is real. My eyes told me that Hawkins did not panic. He's a gamer, and Jackson Arnold has shown that he can get rattled. He got rattled against Arizona early. He worked out of it, but when he had to force it late, it was bad. Again, another bad interception, another fumble. It was bad when he was forced it against Houston. He forced it against Tulane when he pooped himself in the south end zone, and I didn't see that response out of Hawkins today.
Yeah, what I thought Brent said in the post-game press conference was interesting. He was asked about, how do you balance this new era of quarterbacking where you need production, you need productivity. You got to have the guy in there in the game moving the football, producing for you, getting yards, getting touchdowns, and yet you can't put your foot on their throat because they hit the transfer portal like that, right? I mean, that's one of the things of quarterbacks today. And his response was interesting. He said, Jackson's got a body of work. Yeah, he does. It's not good. He was talking about, I've been impressed. I've seen him in practice, and he's looked good in certain parts of certain games. And my thinking was Jackson does have a body of work, and it's not a good body of work. The 9 turnovers in 5 starts is stunning. Is way more. You shouldn't have 5 in 5 starts. You shouldn't have 3 in 5 starts. He's got 9. And they're bad. So the thing that I was saying earlier about what I don't get about the offensive line, Brent, another thing Brent said tonight was interesting. He said, I'd rather have everybody wrong doing one thing than to have this guy over here doing one thing and this guy over here doing something else. He said, I'm tired of seeing the same stuff, the same things, over and over again. The offensive line has got to pick it up or somebody's going to get killed on this field.
I just don't know.
It won't matter who the quarterback is.
So, to start the year, I thought that the musical chairs they're playing is very legit. It's not an excuse. It's a reason. They've got to coach it. That's why Bill Beanbo gets paid a handsome amount of money. But
$1 million now, right?
it makes sense. Yeah, it makes sense when you start with, Sexton at left guard. You just go to left tackle. You're rotating through centers. Josh Bates is effectively their fourth string center. You're playing with that. Tonight, you got the same, basically for a couple of weeks, you're going to have Sexton at left tackle, Ozida at left guard, Fabechi at right guard, Tarquin at right tackle. In theory, Branson Hickman, who's a very experienced player, coming in, we didn't know if his ankle was going to hold up physically, but you would have thought that maybe they should have been on the same page. You could have told me that Josh Bates was playing center. You could have told me that Garrett Hatchett was playing center.
We wouldn't have known.
We wouldn't have known any different because that is not getting better. And Brent Venables did say they're going to open up a quarterback competition. That's going to dominate the next week, Randall, as we lead up to Oklahoma taking on Auburn. But
we better see some OU Daily students poking their noses out the window over here to see who the starting quarterback is. Am I right?
Bring your binoculars to class.
My former coworkers.
Yeah, but the thing that it's not a wonder. This offensive line unit is who we thought they were. They are terrible.
Oh, they're worse.
And who we thought they were?
They were this bad.
Who we thought they were through 3 weeks. Once we've gotten into the season and we've basically said this is not going to get fast enough by Tennessee. It did not get good fast enough by Tennessee.
I thought 5 guys coming in from FBS schools, most of them Power 5 schools, with starting experience would be able to slide right in and pick up where they. Boy, was I wrong.
So you mentioned the musical chairs. I think that's something that Oklahoma's seen plenty of times over the past decade, really since Bedenbaugh has been the coach. And usually whatever group they're putting out is producing better than this, and they usually figure it out 5-6 games into the season, whenever after the Texas game usually. That was at least always the stereotype. But it seems like this group that's not necessarily going to happen. It doesn't seem like that there's any chance that this group is able to kind of come together like some Bedenbaugh groups of the past have been able to come together in the back half of the season. I think at this point it would be a miracle to see this group come together like that. Now, obviously they can improve, and the more they play together, you have to just think that by default they will improve, right? But how much can they improve? Can it be enough to compete against Alabama, Texas, some of these other teams that you'll play in the SEC? Probably not. I don't think so.
I think they can hang with Maine. I think if they play like they did tonight, I think they can hang with Maine. Here is my big takeaway from tonight. Outside of obviously the quarterback stuff, we're gonna dive into that. They still can't run the ball. 1.1 yards per carry. Javonte Barnes ripped off a 17-yard run. That was 17 of the 36 net yards that they got. So basically half that's on one carry. Taylor Tatum continues to look like the most elusive back. Taylor Tatum got a helmet to the back.
Hawkins led the team with 46 total yards, but finished with 22 net and still led the team. 22 yards led the team tonight.
He took a pretty bad sack. Now, it was not like a bad sack on Hawkins. It was a bad sack in the way of Hawkins was not even done with his drop yet, and there were already 2 guys on him.
Three in his face.
He tried to spin out of it, and then the third arrived, which is how he ended up so negative. Taylor Tatum is the most elusive running back that they've got. He got smoked in the back. This was a physical game. Oklahoma looked soft offensively. The defense did not. Oklahoma's offense looked soft. Tale of two cities. Who you got and why? 2018 Oklahoma defense or 2024 OU offense?
Ooh.
I think the offense might be worse. At least the defense can. At least the defense has the opportunity to force turnovers. This offense still can't hit big plays, John. There's no big plays because they can't run the ball, and Deion Burks is the only guy that can make anybody miss.
And he's hurt. He got hurt.
2018 OU defense versus 2024 OU offense. Here's what would happen. The defense would bust through the line and miss the tackle. Kyler Murray would go for 70-yard touchdown runs because they couldn't tackle anybody.
Does that? I think no. Here's what would happen. I would call the police because
I said Kyler Murray. No,
because that is football terrorism. Is what that
2018.
is.
2018 is in my head. It's always Kyler Murray. No, Michael Hawkins would run for 60-yard touchdowns.
Unreal.
Yeah, it's
What's the plan offensively? There is no plan.
No, there is no plan.
no, yeah. That
He said. Seth said tonight, get back to work, get better.
I mean,
I don't know if that's going to do it.
I think the thinking from a lot of
Can't get worse.
This is just based on conversation I've seen online, but I think that the hope from a lot of Oklahoma fans is that putting Hawkins in is what's going to change. But I think you hit the nail on the head. Behind this offensive line, it doesn't matter who's playing quarterback. I mean, obviously, Michael Hawkins is maybe a little bit better at escaping pressure than a Jackson Arnold. So if you're playing behind a bad offensive line, maybe he is the better option. But again, if he's always escaping pressure, it's not going to matter who it is back there playing quarterback. And Tennessee's defensive line is great, but Oklahoma will play other good defensive lines this year. This is the SEC. That's life in the SEC.
I thought the defense played great, but the MVP tonight was the crowd. Okay, now 84,000. They were loud. They were early. They stayed the entire game. I don't think I've been to an OU football game 21 years where the crowd was here at the end of the game almost as many as what was at the beginning. It was unbelievable. I say all that to say the two loudest cheers we heard all night were Nick Anderson being announced as the starting wide receiver, which lasted 2 series, and when Michael Hawkins came into the game. Those were the 2 loudest cheers we heard all night. So the fan base right now, obviously and passionately, believes he's their best shot. He's their only hope, because, especially with now Anderson being hurt again.
Yeah, you got Nick Anderson, who it looked like he re-aggravated his quad on the first series, tried to give that second series a go. You have that re-aggravation. Burks landed on a helmet popped off, and he landed on the helmet. We didn't get any confirmation of anything other than soft tissue. I just think that was it. So it was very unfortunate for Deion Burks. Opened stuff up for Jaquez Petaway toward the end of the game, I guess. I don't know. You look at it, Branson Hickman coming back. I didn't think Branson Hickman was like more overpowered tonight as much as like that was supposed to be the bit, right? Branson Hickman comes back, suddenly you don't have all the mental miscues up front. That was not the case. The tackles just getting beat left, right, and center. Now, Tennessee's defensive line is excellent. I'm very open to just simply saying that they weren't going to block anybody, but I mean, they're just going to get smoked multiple times
kind of the
this year.
Wrong opponent at the wrong time.
Yeah.
For the development of this offensive line.
I really wonder how much different this game would have been in November if the offensive line could just be bang average, but I don't see a path for this offensive line to being an average unit by the end of the year. Like, what is the improvement here? This group sucks.
They do, and I think that if
they can't move anybody, Randall.
No, that's absolutely right. They haven't been able to all year, and it's evident. I mean, that's why we talk about it all. That we've talked about it countless times this year. Oklahoma's always behind the sticks because when they turn around to hand the ball off on 1st and 10, they can't get any push up front. They can't get any yards. I mean,
first series they started 3rd and 11.
Yeah,
first series.
It feels like every time they run the ball, it's no gain or a loss up to it. I mean, Tennessee, even against Oklahoma's solid run defense, is able to pull off 3, 4, 2-yard runs, positive plays at least. But Oklahoma is struggling to get past the line of scrimmage when they're turning around and handing the ball off. I think with around 11 minutes left in the 4th quarter, Oklahoma had 98 total yards.
Excellent stuff.
And I think the rushing total was in the 20s at that point. So I think you mentioned they finished with 1.1 yards per carry. So when you watch the game, that's how it felt.
The great Matt Burton charted Oklahoma's first downs in the first half. Okay, everybody buckle up. Javonte Barnes, run, 5-yard loss. That was the first one. Arnold, incomplete pass. Arnold, 2-yard loss. Pass to Burks for 3 yards. Arnold, pick. Incomplete pass. Burks, run for plus 7 yards. Arnold, incomplete pass. Thompson, catch for plus 12 yards. Sawchuk, run for no gain. Arnold, fumble. Barnes, minus 2 yards. That was the safety. Pass to Barnes for minus 2 yards. Arnold, pass backwards. Fumble. Fumbled snap recovered by Hawkins. Minus 4 yards. 3 turnovers. Safety. 15 first downs.
3 positive plays.
Absolutely mind-numbingly awful. That's a failure by the offensive line, a failure by Jackson Arnold, a failure by Seth Luttrell, a failure by Brent Venable. The whole thing, top to bottom, this is This is the stuff that had.
Do they practice?
I have no idea.
We're not allowed to go to practice, so we can't actually confirm if they actually practice. Based on what we saw here, it doesn't look like they practice.
They practice against a damn good defensive line. How do we know that? Because Oklahoma's defense did as well a job bottling up Tennessee's rushing attack and all that, but it's just the offensive line's awful. And then you look at it, let's juxtapose the mistakes made by each quarterback, Arnold and Nico.
Yep.
You want to say, and this is why I'm totally out on the Jackson Arnold experience. Nico had 2 turnovers. Both of them were strip sacks. He also was playing without his starting left tackle. His starting right tackle has been banged up. Halfway through the first quarter, he went out. So basically, he was playing with 2 new tackles, right? Or the second string tackles. Nico had 2 big mistakes, and they were both. Robert Spears-Jennings comes in, makes a play, right? Trace Ford comes around the other edge, makes a play. Jackson Arnold, his interception, first off, even if he got there and it was about a 10-yard underthrow, he was throwing into triple coverage.
Yeah,
and then he happened to underthrow it. That was your interception. We already went over the lateral, which was a missed read on the handoff that Brent Venables said, and then on top of that, he compounds it by throwing it backwards. That was his second swing pass, by the way, that he screwed up. He bulleted another one to Barnes,
which was almost a fumble also.
Yeah, and then the other fumble, I understand that the Tennessee defensive line's big time, and they're grown men, and they're on scholarship too. To fumble the ball on the 5-yard line when that's the only prayer you've gotten is inexcusable. I don't give a rip. I don't care. That is soft. And it is a rattled quarterback who has been awful.
That's
awful.
Why I said at that moment it's time for him to sit down.
And that's why Hawkins needs to be the quarterback. Because he's at least not giving you that. He might die. Whoever gets back there might be broken in half by the third quarter in the Cotton Bowl. But at least Hawkins isn't going to take the ship down with him.
Yeah, I mean, it's
bad. It is bad.
It's bad. I don't know what else to say.
It's as bad an offense as I've seen this team play consistently. 4 games now. Consistently. Guys. Say it with me.
Since 1998. There you go. We're back.
We did it. Better. Worse than 2005. Worse than 2009. Worse than that bad offense in 2001, 2002 era where the quarterback was back and forth. Worse than 2013, 2014. You know who I was thinking about out here today? I was thinking of Rhett Bomar in 2005 against Texas, literally skipping passes to receivers that were 5 yards away from him. And Cody Thomas. Great baseball player. Don't think I'd want him as my quarterback, but yet that's where they were in 2014. And that's what it reminded me of tonight.
I evoked a different name in the press box. Davis Bevel.
Davis Bevel.
From 2 years ago.
He went there.
That's what this offense with Arnold reminded me of.
Who is the coach in charge of Davis Bevel that didn't move him to tight end earlier in his career? You're fired.
You know, to juxtapose Arnold losing the ball, the play after Oklahoma's defense gives the offense another chance to go back twice.
Sorry.
But so specifically on the fumble where he gets ripped as he's going to the ground, Oklahoma's defense had just given the offense a chance to go back and tie the game. So huge play, of course. You have to know, as a football player, quarterback, one, hold the ball there. But then you juxtapose that with Michael Hawkins, who's running towards the goal line, leaping over defenders, landing on his head, still trying to extend the ball. He manages to hold onto the ball. It's just little things like that. And I know that that's so minute. But again, that's what, like you said, that's just the stuff that can't happen in those situations.
I need to say that I gave Jackson Arnold the benefit of the doubt all the way up to tonight. You don't bench a 5-star quarterback unless it's Spencer Rattler in the Cotton Bowl, right?
You're either clutch or you're not. You don't grow into that during a career. We know that, right? Like,
something's just been off about that kid all year.
The clutch gene's there, and that doesn't always mean that you win the game, but you can tell the guys that are giving yourself a chance to win, and maybe they force it. That was Baker sometimes in 2015, 2016, early stuff like that.
Tell you what,
you can tell that Jackson Arnold is of the Landry Jones ilk. If you put him in a big moment, and he's not going to win you a football game outside of Morgantown, but West Virginia is not a serious football operator.
50-49, that doesn't really count.
Yeah,
indoor football.
Well, so I was talking to some of the some of the other people down on the sideline, and just watching some of the other college football games around the country, watching a team like James Madison put up 70 on North Carolina. there's no reason that James Madison should be able to put up 70 on another Power 5 team, but Oklahoma should be struggling this much on offense.
Yeah.
The talent gap, I don't know what James Madison's working with, but I promise the talent gap should be noticeable. And so I think that, again, it just goes to show that there is something that Oklahoma needs to figure out on offense. Jackson Arnold, I think, being in his head, getting rattled, like you guys mentioned, I think is a huge part of that.
I just don't know how, like, Seth Luttrell has put up explosive offenses at multiple different stops as an OC. He was good at North Texas. Bill Beanbo is a very good offensive line coach. This offensive line is a joke. Mm-hmm. Like, I don't understand how you miss on that many evaluations. This is not like, oh man, if they just had Caden Green. What a weird situation.
I got that question tonight on Twitter. Are you going to ask about Caden Green tonight? I was like, what?
This offensive line is so far away from that. But the other frustrating thing, too, is it's not even just like the offensive line. The running backs, I know they're getting smoked in the backfield. I get it. But they're still, I've yet to see a running back outside of Taylor Tatum make anybody miss. Yep. You had drops from Bauer Sharp. You had the blocking on the perimeter. The only thing that might be worse than the blocking up front is Oklahoma's wide receivers trying to block on the perimeter. Jake Roberts had a massive whiff on the first or second drive of the game. Deion Burks tried real hard tonight. I think he gets a pass. Jaquez Petaway was good in garbage time. Mm-hmm. Yeah, end of list.
So,
outside of Hawkins.
I want to say something about Roberts real quick. A great example, I think, of what Brent Venables is talking about. There was a play early in the first half, might have been the first drive, I'm trying to remember, where he's in the backfield, or he's on this side of the formation. He's on the left side of the formation, and he comes across the formation, and he's basically going out for a flat pass. He sees a blitzer come in from the right side, from the far right side, and they cross like ships in the night. He didn't touch him, he didn't chip him, he didn't bump him. He certainly didn't block him. And what it was a handoff. And he's going out here and turning around and putting his hand up for a pass. I know you get your RPO and there's a little confusion there. But you've got a 240-pound tight end in the backfield, letting a blitzer come free right across his face into the play, knocks, I think it was Barnes, down for a 2-yard loss.
First play of the second drive, it was Arnold that got smoked.
It was unbelievable. Like, what are you guys calling? What I'm not enough of a football coaching type X's and O's expert to know that play should have gone here and that block should have been made there. All I know is there's a 240-pound tight end running one way with his hand up going, throw it to me, and there's a quarterback over here running a read option going, where the hell's that guy coming from? And Brent Venables said, I'd rather have 11 guys over here doing the wrong thing than this guy doing one thing and this guy doing another thing. And that's what we saw.
That goes back to, similar to what you pointed out earlier, Jackson Arnold on the play where he smokes the ball into the dirt and that's recovered for a fumble. Apparently he made the wrong read on that play. He's not supposed to be doing that. Maybe it's a similar situation where it's another time he's making the wrong read. Maybe Jake Roberts is in the wrong that time. But I think it just points to a bigger issue of the offense is just so discombobulated. Yeah. It's just mistakes left and right.
That's why I think inserting offensive linemen is not going to help. Well, inserting quarterbacks is not going to help.
Branson Hickman came back tonight. He's supposed to be the savior at the center position. Michael Hawkins' first snap, it's at his ankles and he loses 5 yards. Again,
what a way to help out your true freshman quarterback.
Yeah. Who's first snap against Tennessee? Good job. But you mentioned
athletic, he'll get it.
You mentioned the running backs. The one big runs that Javonte Barnes did break, where he just got smoked on the sideline. It's like he's not even bracing for contact. He's running straight up and down, doesn't drop his shoulder. He's not going out of bounds. He's tightroping the sideline. It's like there needs to be some football awareness there. I know it seems dumb, sitting here in the press box or on the sideline saying it, but again, that's common sense. Something if you're running up and down the sideline and you're not going out of bounds, you need to not be running straight up and down. You need to be prepared for the hit. He got smoked. Of course, it worked out for the Sooners just fine, but it's just the instance. That's the type of stuff that made OU look soft tonight, because that drive, you saw 3-4 OU offensive players, whether it was Taylor Tatum, whether it was Javonte Barnes, Deion Burks, go out of the game with injuries. Just shows Tennessee on their defense was a lot tougher than Oklahoma's offense.
Oklahoma's offense looked soft and stupid tonight. And it's not the first time it's looked soft or stupid. We came out of the Houston game going, where are the easy plays, right? Like you're
make
playing
everything look hard.
You're playing Houston. They made everything look hard. They had a couple of good drives against Tulane. They responded in the second half. Tonight it was straight back to everything that happened looked hard. It looked difficult. And now Brent Venables after the game confirmed there is an open competition for the QB1 spot. Jackson Arnold and Michael Hawkins will compete this week. He said he's looking for consistent outcomes. It's great that he's going to let him compete, but he also said there is a body of work of what we've seen in games. You have to perform. It's a game of performance, which leads me to believe I see no way that Michael Hawkins doesn't take the first start against Auburn.
He should.
Because
Auburn wasn't afraid to make a change at their quarterback position when their starter wasn't performing.
yeah,
That's what you're up against in the SEC.
And
A couple of bad games, go sit down.
now, I think that hitching your wagon to Peyton Thorne's a little bit different
Correct.
than a five-star quarterback, that kind of thing. But
That's fair.
regardless of what it looks like in practice, things like that, the fact of the matter is this offensive line is not magically going to be fixed next week. Whoever is playing quarterback will be running for their lives. Whoever is playing quarterback will not have the support of a run game. Whoever is playing quarterback will be dealing with a Deion Burks is not 100%, a Nick Anderson, if he can get back in, he'll just able to play two drive. All the issues you saw tonight are going to be there next week. The only difference is Auburn's defense is kind of Tennessee's defense is really good. Auburn's defense has a couple of nice pieces on the edge. They suck in the secondary. People have been able to move the ball on them. That's the big difference. And oh, by the way, you're either taking a true sophomore who has shown that he gets rattled as easy as any quarterback we've seen this side of Landry Jones, or a true freshman to go start at Jordan Hare. The saving grace for Oklahoma is that Auburn fans are already over the season because their offense has been so awful that maybe it takes a little bit of the bite out of what they're going to see next Saturday. That's like the big hope for Oklahoma's offense next week.
Yeah, I mean, and I think we mentioned it earlier, but aside from that, like you mentioned, the only hope is that playing an entire game together today builds cohesion, and another week of practice builds some cohesion. I don't think you're going to see a noticeable difference, but maybe by the end of the season they're at least a little better than they were today. I think if you're an Oklahoma fan, or coach, that's what you have to hope, because like you said, otherwise the quarterbacks or whoever it is are still going to be running for their lives. The running game is still going to be bad, and the receiving corps is not there to lean on like we thought they would be early, before camp, because so many of those guys are hurt.
That's what I said downstairs, guys. We've seen bad offenses come through here before that got better over the course of a season. Rare is the team, or even in this case the offensive line, that goes over the course of a college football season, coached by Bill Beatonbow especially, that doesn't get markedly better. I don't know if that's going to happen this time. I don't think it is.
I mean, when you can't move guys off the ball literally at all. I mean, I don't know if it's different from what y'all can see from what we're seeing down there on the field, but there's no push up front. There's no space. The running backs have nowhere to go.
Yeah.
I mean, you watch even
every play went backwards.
I mean, it feels like every time they run the ball, it's not going to go anywhere. And I mean, you watch Tennessee again. Oklahoma's defense played really well tonight, and we'll get into that. But if you watch Tennessee, there are even plays where their running backs have space. There's holes for them to hit. Even if it's not a lot of room, there's yards for them to get. There's not any yards for the Oklahoma running backs to get. Not that they've played great themselves, but there's not really been much for them to do, really.
And
I think Oklahoma had 68 offensive snaps, 11 tackles for loss. So 1 out of 6 plays is going backwards. 1 out of 6 is going backwards. Add in the turnovers. What is that? 14 out of 68. I mean,
and that doesn't count the number of times that players got hit in the backfield and fought their way to the line of scrimmage where it wasn't technically a tackle for loss.
There's a handful of zeros in there. That's right.
Speaking of running backs, Gavin Sawchuk, MIA.
Yeah. Strange.
Even
why would you want Gavin Sawchuk to play in this game? Frankly,
I'm not saying that he should. I'm just saying it is interesting. But he ended the year on a heater last year.
Yeah, but Gavin Sawchuk is a patient running back who needs the running lane to develop. There are no running lanes to develop. That's the one thing I actually agree with. Is just like waving the white flag and say it's not Sawchuk's fault.
That's
right.
Yeah.
But you need a Javonte Barnes that's just going to put his head down and get what's there, which is often absolutely nothing.
Right.
Not to pick on any one offensive lineman, because it's not just a one offensive lineman thing, but we talked to Fechi Wiwu tonight after the game. Talked to Heath Ozeta last Monday we've talked to Jacob Sexton. Who else have we talked to in post-game, midweek stuff? We talked to Logan Howland.
Garen Hatchett a couple
We've talked to Garen Hatchett. Here's the two I didn't read on all of those. No one has a damn clue what's going wrong. We keep hearing that it's a really close unit, that they're making incremental improvement. That's great.
They like hanging out together, playing video games together.
I'm happy that they go to Fuzzies and they watch film together. None of it's working. We asked Heath Ozida on Monday who like the leader is, who the voice in the room is. He said Troy Everett. Troy Everett could be a great dude, a veteran guy. The one dude who hasn't played being your voice in the room, that's why no one's communicating on the field. When you talk about like Favechiwiwu says, oh, we're all new, so we listen to everybody. They need one guy to sack up and just grab everyone by the scruff and be like, I may be wrong with my calls, but damn it, follow me. They've got no clue. The offensive line has no idea, and they're not going to get better. They're not going to get better, and as we've mentioned a couple of times, even if they fix the mental stuff, they can't blow anybody off the football. It's mind-boggling how you got to this, and I don't want to hear how good Bill Beanbo is as an offensive line coach. We get it. He is. The numbers speak for himself. This unit is awful, and it was always going to be the hard cap at Oklahoma's ceiling. That hard cap could be 6-6. That's how bad it is, and that's how bad of a coaching job it's been by Bill Beanbo.
I think you oversold it. Could be 5-7.
Could be. They've got Maine on the schedule,
Maine,
so that's
that's
4.
As Brenville said today, we're trying to get to 4.
They're just trying to get to 4.
Auburn's not any good.
LSU
South
sucks.
Carolina didn't look any good. Guess what? They're better than we thought.
It's thankfully for Oklahoma, the saving grace of why they're not going to go 5-7.
That defense.
The defense is legit.
That was impressive.
You flip it around, 25 points. It was really just 23 points on the defense specifically when you talk about the safety. They're put in bad spots again. They had one awful play. It wasn't a bust. Thornton just flat out smoked Kenai Walker. That was the big touchdown. They had 2 spots where Brew McCoy got on to Woody Washington. Both of those, Oklahoma held Tennessee to a field goal. Otherwise, you look at what this Tennessee rushing attack did. Only averaged 2.9 yards per carry. Most of that came on the last offensive drive of the first half, a moment in which Tennessee's offense had been on the field for 8 minutes more than Oklahoma's offense. The defense couldn't catch a break. They forced Nico, or I think they made Nico uncomfortable. Nico, unlike Jackson Arnold, who just crapped his pants, didn't throw it to the other team. He finished 13-21, so pretty good completion percentage, 194, 1 touchdown through the air, but they got to him a couple of times on those strip sacks. If poor Ethan Downs, if the ball bounces slightly more in front of him, I think he picks up that first scoop and score. And despite every bad that the offensive line and Jackson Arnold tried to put onto that game, I think Oklahoma's in a dogfight at halftime if the ball just bounced a little bit more that way. Whether it was Lewis Carter who was all over the place, whether it was the defensive line went to the odd front. Can you guys imagine? Go back to 2022. That odd front that they rolled out there over and over and over again that just got absolutely shredded. If I told you that Tennessee was going to come in here 3 years from now or 2 years from now, putting up video game numbers, and Oklahoma's going to roll a 3-man front out there and dominate the line of scrimmage, we would have laughed our butts off, and that's exactly what the Sooners did tonight.
Yep. Yeah, there's a couple of things I wanted to mention about the defense. Stat of the night comes from Ryan Aber, the Oklahoman. Nico had 194 yards passing. 196 of it came on 4 completions. On his other 9 completions, total of -2 yards. So Oklahoma's defense was doing the job tonight. They were getting after the quarterback. They were hustling him. They were chasing him all over the place. They were batting down balls. They were getting their hands on and knocking down passes. The only thing that blew up in their face was the deep ball, and that's where college football is right now. That's why Oklahoma's offense smells so rancid, because there are no deep balls. Oklahoma is not hitting a deep ball. Nico hit 4 deep balls today out of 21 throws. That's all you need is 4 deep balls to get you down there in scoring position. Am I right or am I right?
Yeah.
With a defensive performance like this, hey, we're kicking their butt, we're in the backfield, we're at the line of scrimmage, oh crap, there goes a 66-yard touchdown. Oh crap, there's another 42-yard completion. Oh crap, there's another 35-yard completion. Oklahoma's offense has got to figure out that side of it to be able to strike those things. And then the thing I wanted to mention, my gosh, how good is Robert Spears Jennings?
Yeah.
Woo! That kid can play. Man, he is fierce. I mean, he looks like an NFL safety out there trying to kill somebody.
The thing that I noticed about Robert Spears Jennings today was that anytime he is around the ball, he does not miss the tackle.
Yeah.
There are other guys where sometimes they'll get their hands on, then they'll let go or they'll miss the tackle. If he's around the ball carrier, he takes the guy down, and he hits hard. He's a sound tackler. Even on special teams, he makes plays. I mean, he is all over the field. I think that he has developed this season into one of Oklahoma's best players on that side of the ball, and really on the team in general. I think coming into this game, or 2 weeks ago, he was Pro Football Focus's top-graded safety. Obviously, take with that what you will. It's however you value Pro Football Focus, but still, it is another metric. It's not just our eyes that have noticed that he's played really well. Another guy that I think played well in the secondary tonight was Eli Bowen, a really young player. I thought that in the snaps that he went in the game, he was really good. You mentioned Lewis Carter. He was everywhere flying around the field. I was talking to some of the guys down on the sideline, and I mentioned it feels like anybody Oklahoma puts in the game on defense plays well.
Yeah.
And it's crazy because 2-3 years ago, it could not be farther from the
You couldn't find one guy.
Right, yeah.
You couldn't find one guy.
You couldn't find
it looked
one
like the
guy.
offense.
Yeah, exactly. It's crazy because, I mean, Jaden Hardy came in the game today. He looked really good.
Yep.
Instantly made 2 tackles. I mean, the Samuel Masigo, when he comes in the game, he's playing well. Kendall Dolby, I feel terrible for him. That injury looked awful. I could see his leg was twisted back.
You immediately saw it. You texted me. I turned to Hoover, and I just said, because the way that Billy Bowman ran out of the pile, Billy Bowman does not run out of the pile and wave his arms and go, 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 go. And I just turned to Hoover, and I was like, boss, that it doesn't look right.
He set his ankles on backwards.
You could see it. You could see it. He was laying on the field facing the other direction, and his foot was facing us. So we could tell from that angle.
Yeah.
Brent Venables
Dislocation.
said it was a dislocation after the game. Didn't give a timeline on that. He did say surgery once. I think it's a swelling goes down, all that stuff.
The point I wanted to make in that, again, I feel terrible for Kendall Dolby. He was on a great year. Eddie and I were down on the field talking
Key player
about
in a key position.
And then that's what Eddie and I were talking about. He's a dog. He is everywhere. He's super physical. But I made that point to say Oklahoma's defense, even after he went out, still played really well.
Yep.
And maybe some of that is them rallying around Kendall Dolby, but it's the drop off was not. You didn't really notice it. Is my point in saying that. And it feels like whoever Oklahoma's thrown out there on defense, part of that's recruiting, part of that's development. They're making plays. They're playing sound. Again, the guys that got beat for those deep balls are guys that are regulars and starters in the rotation, veteran players.
Kenai Walker once.
Kenai Walker and Woody Washington. And
Kenai's got a little bit of a history of it.
Right,
Getting
and-
beat deep on balls like that.
And we know that Woody doesn't have that kind of speed.
Exactly.
It is what it is.
Exactly.
And for one part of his game that he knows, that's why he's going to be a slot corner in the NFL.
And Brew McCoy, this might be a throwback for a lot of OU fans, a really high recruit, athletic player. There are some other holes in this game, but that is not one of them. So again, it's a tough matchup for Woody Washington. I thought both of those guys, even though they gave up big plays, for the most part, they held their own. The rest of OU's defense, cannot say enough good things about them. Special teams even, Luca, I know we'll get to that, but Oklahoma's defense played really well.
Danny Stutzman only had 3 tackles tonight. Y'all know that?
I know. It was
What the heck?
kind of insane.
He was all over the place, I
Yeah.
thought.
Spears Jennings
Didn't
led
get credit
with
for enough.
Spears Jennings led with 13, Kip Lewis 7, Peyton Bowen 7, Lewis Carter 6, Kenai Walker 5 from there on. Tennessee had punted 2 or 3 times coming into the night. They punted 8 times tonight. 8 times, and if you
They had 0 3 and outs.
I think they had punted twice, 0 3 and outs.
Yeah.
Coming into the game.
And then 8
First 2
punts
possessions
tonight.
were 3
Yeah.
and outs. Yeah.
And some of the points they scored, of course, are because Oklahoma's given them the ball inside their 30-yard line after going for it on 4th down. Of course, there's the Jackson Arnold bounce pass that gave Tennessee the ball back. So
The bad news is I think the OU basketball team might be that bad too. Jackson Arnold could slot it.
yeah, maybe they'll.
Oh, they got a lot of transfers.
Oh, great. Yeah.
As Nick.
Much like Oklahoma's offensive line, who's got transfers from Appalachian State and North Texas. That's like the college football version of getting guys from Long Beach State and Dayton. I guess.
As Nick Saban said, there's a reason those guys are in the transfer portal.
Yeah, it was
I said
bad.
that this morning.
It was bad.
saw
But
it.
you look at this defense, what's really unfortunate for Oklahoma fans is I don't know, obviously, if the offense can figure it out because the offensive line's that bad. This defense can keep them in every single game they play all year long.
Yeah, going to be a lot of one-possession games.
That Tennessee offense is electric. It's really good. It's a good offensive line, great scheme, great skill position. They handled the tempo well. Like, the tempo wasn't even really a factor for me as far as I can't remember a single time that we're talking about, man, they gave up 5 yards because they weren't lined up. There was missed assignments.
It felt like Heupel slowed down because he thought the tempo wasn't working.
Yeah. Well, I think Heupel recognized the tempo's not working, but I can keep that defense on the field for a long time. Yeah. And I think he almost flipped the switch a little bit. He also mercy killed Oklahoma. Instead of running it up, he basically said, I feel bad for you. I'm going to sit at 22 points for no reason.
I also think that we mentioned the deep shots that Tennessee took, and they're not these deep go balls down the field. I think we talked about earlier in the week Oklahoma having to get the ball out quickly because Tennessee's defensive line is so good. I think you saw Heupel and Tennessee take a little bit of that same game plan tonight because they were worried about Oklahoma's defensive line. A lot of short passes behind the line of scrimmage or around the line of scrimmage. I don't really remember him seeing. Of course, there were those 4 deep balls, but one of them was the deep slant on Kenai Walker, and a few of them were just intermediate routes to Brew McCoy, who he was able to break a few tackles, get some extra yards. It didn't seem like Oklahoma's defense gave up many deep shots down, like deep shots down the deep portions of the field, and I think that's because Heupel, Tennessee didn't want to test that defensive line. They got home anyway. The times that Nico did sit back there and take a little long to get rid of the ball, Oklahoma's defensive line was able to get home, and it came from we mentioned Robert Spears-Jennings, and we've talked about the edge group needs to contribute a little more until last week when R. Mason Thomas, Trace Ford.
Did you say you got a tweet or a text? The Oklahoma defense is an SEC defense finally, and the Oklahoma offense is a Class 2A.
Yeah, basically.
Class 2A OK preps.
Yeah, it's bad. And here's the thing that I think is going to really sting when Brent Venables puts the film on. He's probably actually watching film right now. It's 3 in the morning. We're still at the stadium. I thought Tennessee clearly was more physical, but they were undisciplined to play with that edge, if that makes sense. You talk about they had the play early in the first quarter. Josh Heupel, I think so we saw the first drive, Oklahoma came out, went for it on 4th and 2 near midfield, didn't get it. Heupel then came back around, opted to punt instead of going for it on 4th down because I think he realized Oklahoma's going to be in a field position to hold early. When the Sooners flipped it back around and got it going, you had there was the tight end that blocked out of bounds that ended up being a big penalty that sacrificed some field position. There was another procedural penalty on a punt that Tennessee gave away that sacrificed more field position. That, I think, ended up leading to them being backed up, and that was the Spears-Jennings strip sack that put up against the 5-yard line. There were a couple of other stuff when it came to, it wasn't the running into the kicker, but the unnecessary roughness, stuff like that. Tennessee, I didn't think that they played clean on special teams. I thought that they had really bad penalties that basically nullified what Heupel was trying to do, which was win the field position battle, and still it didn't matter because Oklahoma's offense was so awful.
Do you think if that fumble is turned into a touchdown, is not immediately given back, and they score a touchdown right there, do you think Heupel keeps his foot on the gas and the score is probably worse than it was?
I don't.
Or does that give Oklahoma life and hope, and they look at the scoreboard and they see Jackson Arnold's got as many touchdown throws or runs as he does turnovers, right? And then the fourth quarter is a completely different situation. I just wonder.
We've seen
they missed one 2-point conversion, two 2-point conversions, and a chip shot field goal. Or extra point.
Well, the extra point got moved back.
Right.
Well, that's right.
They had the 2-point conversion holding, moved it back, opted to kick the field goal instead, and then Keltner shanked it. I think part of...
And still got their doors blown off and had that much of a chance to get close.
Yeah, I think part of him taking his foot off the gas was a little bit of recognizing that the defense is probably going to get stops anyway, so run clock. All right, outside of that, Luke Gonzaga was great. Didn't matter.
I was going to say, can we talk about the real MVP? 51 yards a punt? Come on now.
Yeah.
It feels like every time he punts the ball, Oklahoma is able to down it inside the 20-yard line.
He's got a great talent.
He has been really, really good.
I'll be surprised if he's not the all-SEC punter.
He'll be in the conversation for sure. I mean, and then he punts a lot.
I was about to say the other good thing is not only is he averaging a lot, but he's going to punt like 8 times a game. All right, the 10,000-foot view, Oklahoma. These are really weird words coming from me because I have buried multiple times the great Josh Calloway when it comes to talking about what this means for playoff implications, stuff like that. So this is a weird spot to be in. The Sooners are 3-1.
Yeah.
We have said with this schedule, 9-3. I get it. Though if they play like they're playing tonight, they're not sniffing 9 wins. I get it.
Sure.
We get that. That I'm not going to how do they get back to the playoff, but the outlook of what we learned from this game, Hoover. I think this defense is good enough to keep them in every single game the rest of the way. That includes Texas, that includes Alabama. So how does the offense find a way, I'm not even going to say the word to be average, just to function at a college football Power 4 level? Do they have the ingredients to even do that, or is this line so far gone that it's just hope, pray, and maybe Michael Hawkins can make enough happen with his feet, or is the defense? In 2009, the defense straight up had to get pick sixes to win games. Is that what this team is already 4 games into the year?
Just getting ready to say we're back in 2009 with this team. Can they get in the playoff? Not playing like this, of course not. If the defense keeps them in, and they cash in some of those offensive opportunities that I just mentioned. Fumble at the 5-yard line. Free gift. Here, take this free gift and run with it. No, they didn't want it. They kicked it down the curb, went down the sewer, and they wasted an opportunity. Extra points, field goals like last week. They're standing over a field goal and miss a 50-yarder. They're just leaving so many opportunities out there. If they clean a couple of those things up and the defense keeps them in it, all of a sudden you're talking about a team that could win 8 or 9 games.
I think.
Is that playoff worthy with this schedule? Probably.
Sorry. No, I was, and part of this conversation is not playoff, right? Obviously, the way this team played, please do not misunderstand.
No, we're not going
But the new era of college football, years past, we would leave this and say the season is over.
Right.
Because there's no path to this offensive line being consistent enough to string together 10-2, anything like that. But it is a new era of college football. You do get a few more gimmies. The way that this defense is playing. This is not like a gargantuan task to beat Auburn. It's not a gargantuan task to beat South Carolina. Missouri looked like crap against Vandy today. LSU's looked like crap in every game that they've played.
Still got Maine.
Alabama looks excellent. Ole Miss looks excellent.
Mm-hmm.
Texas looks really good.
So we're talking 4.
So you're talking games like
you're
that.
You're gonna have to shock Texas.
In that game, thankfully, you can always. I'm usually not one that sells hope. In the Cotton Bowl, throw
everything out the window.
It's just stupid in the best way.
Agreed.
To answer your original question, how can the offense improve? What needs to be done for the offense to improve? I think first you obviously have to hope that Michael Hawkins can not make some of these stupid mistakes that Jackson Arnold was making, and that's even the plays that aren't going for interceptions or fumbles. Making the right reads, evading pressure, being more decisive with the ball, things like that. You have to hope that. That's number one. Michael Hawkins has to be better in some of those areas. I think number 2 is you have to hope that the offensive line can stay healthy, that they can play together, build cohesion, and be, enough that Seth Littrell can scheme around them to have a functioning offense. I think you also have to hope that you get healthy at receiver, and that the running backs behind an offensive line that has, in this hypothetical situation, figured it out. Are able to, do what needs to be done to, again, keep the chains moving, not get behind the sticks like we've seen so many times this year. But that feels like a lot to ask.
It's a lot.
I think that's
a laundry list.
Yeah, it is. But I think that's what you need to see happen to improve the offense. Now, how do you do that? I can't necessarily give you those answers, but that's what I think you need to see.
You start Hawkins at quarterback?
Yep.
You start Hawkins at quarterback?
I would, for sure.
Same. Okay, so we're on the same page there. Roll with Hawkins. Here's what I would do, some version of this. Was it Leach that said the RPO is a play, not an offense?
Probably. I don't remember.
Sounds like something Leach said.
Mm-hmm.
This offensive line looks so soft that the RPO stuff where you have to worry about, am I getting too far downfield? Eliminate it. They need to go to straight run plays, straight pass pro. You can throw the wrinkle of a pass pro where Oklahoma's going to intentionally roll the pocket, stuff like that. I know that Brent Venables after the game
tried that tonight and it was a disaster.
Well, they tried it with Arnold and it was a disaster because Jackson Arnold was, I think his head was spinning, frankly, by that point.
Yeah.
I would start there and I would pare it all down to, hey, Hawkins, you got a couple of reads, and if that's not there, just go. And I know that Brent Venables said that your legs can't be everything, and this offense's legs might have to be everything.
Might have to.
I mean, I think that it's not an uncommon recipe, especially in college football, but even at every level of football, to have a really good defense and a quarterback that is a good enough decision maker to not turn the ball over and mobile enough to pick up a few first downs, keep the chains moving, to not keep the defense on the field the entire game. You'll have to win close games. You'll have to be good on special teams. You'll have to win low-scoring games. But that's a recipe that teams have been able to pick up 9-10 wins with at college professional football. You're not going to be the best team in the country doing that, but it's a chance.
Oklahoma's just trying to keep their head above water.
Right, exactly. That's right. Exactly.
Coaches are going to hate me for this, and that's fine.
They already do, Hoover.
That's true. I might as well
I hate
jump
to be
in
this
both
way.
feet. We see it a lot, in my opinion, in the NFL with rookie quarterbacks, and we see it a lot in college football with freshman quarterbacks. Get off the bench, go in the game, make some plays. Kids out there running around, running for his life, throwing the ball, first down, touchdown, doing flips, right? Meanwhile, you got Jackson Arnold out there who's an experienced starter and he doesn't know what to do. What does that tell you? One guy's getting number one reps all week long. You're the starter. You've been the starter ever since the bowl game last year, and he doesn't know what to do. The other guy comes in off the bench and starts making plays. What does that tell you? He's being overcoached. The starting quarterback is being overcoached. What Ryan's saying is limit the offensive playbook, give him a couple of packages, a couple of read things. I'm not saying, make him an option quarterback and that's all he gets to do. Just slim down his playbook. It's coming at him too fast. The quarterbacks right now at Oklahoma are inundated. They're drinking out of a fire hose, and it's overwhelming them. And you can see Jackson Arnold has not developed. He has not gotten better. He's gotten worse. And it's got to be a mental thing because his physical capabilities are so extraordinary. So I think I've said it before, and coaches are like, "You're full of crap," and I probably am full of crap. That's fine. Stop overcoaching these kids.
I think that you're exactly right. I mean, you have to, especially for young guys, and Jackson Arnold has been the starter since the bowl game last year, but he's not a guy who's played a ton of in-game snaps. For young guys, inexperienced guys like that, when they're playing SEC football, I mean, the game's moving really fast in general. You have to simplify things for them, so that way they're not having to, worry about a million things, which is already, kind of what the quarterback position is. Simplify it, give those guys a little less to worry about, get confidence, especially in a guy like Jackson Arnold, who we've seen that's huge for a guy like Jackson Arnold, is the confidence factor. Give them some confidence, make it easy for them. And you guys talked about it earlier. They make everything look so tough on offense. Make things easy. Make it easy for the decision makers.
What's the best that Jackson Arnold looked in the bowl game when they just were trying to hey, we're going to not try and reinvent the wheel. We're not going to experiment with the in-helmet communications during bowl game. We're not going to mess with the Jeff Lebby playbook too much. Yep. Did he have a couple of mistakes in that game with throwing late over the middle early? Yeah, of course. Why? Because that was a gunslinger mentality paired with being a true freshman. That was always going to be a possibility. Now you see, I don't know if he's gun-shy throwing late. It's been bizarre, and I frankly don't want to see it anymore.
Confidence is gone.
The little hitch pass, the little screen he tried to throw, I think, to Barnes that went backwards. That was ruled backwards. I didn't think it went backwards.
The Barnes one didn't go backwards. That one went into the dirt and was a worse pass. Reagan's was the one that technically was hit with the...
And if you look at his feet during the throw, his feet are not set. I don't think he's making that real quick, get the ball and throw it as quick as you can. He doesn't have his hands on the laces. He doesn't have his fingers on the laces. His feet were all off. And seriously, if you go out in the yard and try to throw a football, and there's a way to do it, and he wasn't executing the most basic fundamentals. He was just like, here's the ball, and It was a disaster. 21-yard loss.
His confidence is gone, and because his confidence,
He's hurrying through it.
Exactly right. Exactly. Because his confidence is gone. He's not trusting himself, and then he's hurrying through everything, and then he's panicking. And when he panics, that's when you see, like you saw against Arizona. That's why, or against Tulane. That's when you see him throw interceptions. That's when you see him take sacks, things like that. I mean,
Exactly right. All those things lead to a panicked quarterback.
Exactly.
That leads to turnovers.
Right. Exactly.
Well, I feel better about this. 25-15, a game that wasn't that close. Shout out to anyone who had Oklahoma plus 15. Good job, Eddie. Other than that, we'll be back on Thursday to try and sift through everything. Obviously, anything said post-game, whether it be Brent Venables, Zach Alley. Zach Alley got the... Zach Alley got the Jeff Levy experience from a couple of years ago when the defense was just on fire and Jeff Levy kind of came in and was just like, we scored points.
Zach Alley was he had a smile the entire postgame press conference, and I think that's just because he's a nice guy and he's trying to be courteous. He doesn't want to come off as gruff. They lost the game. He's not happy about it, but he had a smile.
It wasn't Zach Alley's fault. Zach Alley and that defense did everything they can. But so Brent Venables, Zach Alley set the trail. Also talked to Michael Hawkins, talked to Fabechi Wiwu, talked to Barnes, talked to, who else did we talk to?
Did you say Michael Hawkins already?
Yeah, Hawkins. Anyway, Oklahoma Sooners on SI.com. Head over there. We got all the videos. We've got Hooves, everything you need to know. My 3 quick takeaways. Hooves' story on the quarterback competition comes 6 a.m. I murdered the offensive line with words.
We've got highlights.
We got highlights. We got our post-game wrap. All that stuff. Oklahoma Sooners on SI.com. The post-game content is going to continue flood out all day Sunday. We're going to get like 2 hours of sleep, get up, re-rack, roll again. Monday night, we'll talk to the players. They will have nothing to say. Please come to the site anyway. Tuesday will be a very interesting Brent Venables press conference as we prepare for Oklahoma and Auburn. Oklahoma Sooners on SI.com. Or if you're a YouTuber, John Hoover Media. If you're on YouTube, please give us a like, leave us a comment. What would you do to fix this offense? Would you just merely hope and pray? Does Oklahoma need to hire a shaman or a witch doctor? All of that stuff. Comment section of YouTube. Give us that thumbs up if you're listening to this on the podcast. A rating and a review goes a long way to helping us be more visible. More people come aboard. We get to do more cool things. All that stuff. Yeah, other than that, Oklahoma Sooners on SI.com. Have I missed anything? I feel like I've chucked everything.
You never miss anything. You get them all.
That's
Every
not
time.
true. You've not seen me play soccer. The goal is actually the safest place to be. Missed a lot. Randall, I'm sorry that this was your last experience, but we are happy that you're off and on to the next chapter, all that stuff. You'll still be bouncing around. You'll still see Randall Sweet bylines on the site. He's not going totally away, but sorry he won't be there in Atlanta next week. And we're gonna have a great time on Friday night. Go to Truist, maybe get killed by a hurricane. You know.
Well, I'll still be tuning in to Oklahoma Sooners on SI to check out how the pre and post and during the game is going.
Yeah, we'll still have that midweek podcast. We'll talk to you Thursday. For John Hoover, for Randall Sweet, I'm Ryan Chapman. Keep your chin up, Oklahoma. You gave an awesome atmosphere. It's not your fault the line can't block. We'll see if they can figure that out. For next week, we'll talk to you guys on Thursday.